I was working full-time, college, full-time, doing personal training. And that's when I discovered my abilities, I guess. And now looking back, I think everyone has this ability to do more than you think is what's capable of yourself. Welcome to Only the Greatest Podcast. If you're feeling stuck and unsure what to do next in your fitness journey, we might be what you're looking for. My name is Philip. I own and operate OTG Fitness, which is a private personal training gym on the south side of Houston in Webster. I do this podcast every week with my best friend, Darryl. We've been friends since third grade and working out together ever since. Also joining us today will be Sean. He's the one that makes this podcast not only sound great, but look good as well. Our goal here is to help Houston make its way up the ladder of health and fitness. So if you're in the Houston area and ready to become the greatest version of yourself, be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Welcome back. The reigning champion of the 2023 Bourbon Bowl. We have Darryl Laird, ladies and gentlemen. He is one half of the current championship duo.
I'm about 90% of it. Let me put these. I don't want to scare the guests, the listeners on YouTube. Yeah. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
It's a little aggressive.
Yeah, we didn't say we were going to have guns on the episode. So
guns on the show.
I thought this was a health and fitness show. It's not a firearm.
Hey, I'm about 90%. Jessica did play a 10% role in the win. But the Bobby Boucher, my costume really took home the gold. Literally, I have a trophy on my mantle right now for best costume of the 2023 Bourbon Bowl, which AKA, or I guess it's Phil's Halloween party costume contest, AKA the Bourbon Bowl.
Yeah, I think we're going to call it the annual Bourbon Bowl from now on.
We're not even going to call it a Halloween party. It's going to be the Bourbon Bowl.
It's going to be the Bourbon
You're
Bowl.
invited. Facebook invite says Bourbon Bowl.
And you'll just know. You just have to know.
Remember that time Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime and the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl, do you?
You know what got me, though? Because it was close. The other team...
Want me to kill him sign?
Yeah, it was the other team had a great costume as well. It was very original. It was another couple. But what got me with you guys,
their costume was good.
It was very good. Was the details.
Yeah.
It was the sign. Darryl, he showed up with the Louisiana frog cakes.
Because that's what he does in the movie.
Yeah.
There we go.
Louisiana frog cakes.
He handed out water to all of our patrons.
Yeah, had a little tray with water cups. People were drinking it too.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, thanks, man."
Yeah, so I mean, just the details.
Jessica had the tattoo, the barbed wire tattoo, the "Want me to kill him" sign. She put a lot of effort.
Yeah, I think Jessica really brought it home for me.
She custom made that hat.
Yeah, the hat was custom. SCLSU, the Mud Dogs,
South Central Louisiana State University. So the custom hat, not custom, but specific necklace, the same color tank top. She was actually upset because Vicky wears a velvet one in the movie. Hers was the same color, it just wasn't velvet. And she was like, my vest or my tank isn't velvet, but
it's not
same color.
Not 100% accurate.
She went out and bought specific jeans and used boots so that she could really represent. So no, she did a jam up job.
It was solid.
I mean, I still did 85% of the winning, but I'll give Jessica 15.
It was solid for sure. But anyways,
check out Instagram, y'all.
Yes.
Check out my Instagram, Phil's Instagram. I am the winner, and you can go on my Instagram and see why. I dominated the costume contest.
It was very good.
Some stiff competition, but
it was very good. Denver thought you guys were going to be Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy.
Well, next year we're going to show up in the invisible boatmobile.
There you go.
I was thinking about it. I was like, what if you had a sign out in the driveway that says, "Please do not park here"? I know you can't see it, but it's like boatmobile parking.
Boatmobile parking. I love it, dude.
All right. Anyways, the reason we're actually here, I had to shout that out. Daryl, it's been a while since he's been on the show. You know, he's been working a lot, but he's back.
How are you feeling, Darryl? How are you feeling, man?
A little rusty on my podcasting, but it feels good to be back. You know how I've described it on the show before? You know how like when you got the same old vehicle, you've had it forever, but then you take it and you detail it?
Yeah.
Put some armor on the tires. You wipe down the dash, and then you hop in it and you're like,
my truck.
Nice.
So this
nice.
is a nice rig.
It's a nice rig.
So I feel like I'm glad to be back in this chair. I'm glad to be sitting with two of my best friends. And this is always fun for us. We do it We do it to help people mostly.
Yep.
And we have fun doing it, so everybody wins. It's a win-win.
Yeah, and on that note, we can hop straight into this. Today is the 100th episode.
Woo woo!
That's just
100 episos.
crazy.
100.
Crazy to think about.
We're in the triple digits now. They make an emoji for us, the 100 with the
With the little underline. That was made just for this podcast.
Yeah, well, they knew we
actually.
were going to hit 100 episodes
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's taken a little bit of time, but
Yep.
we're here now. We have some new goals. We
We're just all talking about
Yep.
this the other day.
we have a lot of new things going on. We had the new intro that came out. Everyone that I've showed it to has loved it. We have a new strategy with guests. So I'll just kind of lay it out there. We'll talk about it here. That's what we're going to do on today's episode, guys, is just talk about the future goals of this podcast, what we plan to do with it, how it started, kind of how OTG started as a whole. So if you don't know that story, you'll get a little bit of that today. And then we're going to talk about how it's evolved from back then when it first started all the way up to today with the
Sure.
podcast. And so if you're not aware, our goal here is to help Houston make its way up the ladder of health and fitness.
The new slogan.
That is the slogan that we're
We can
going
put that
with.
in quotes.
We should.
Yeah.
Yep. We should
Help
trademark.
Houston make its way up the ladder of health and fitness. That's our slogan. That's our goal.
Yes, that's the goal. That's the slogan of the show now. And we're going to do that by most of the time. Obviously, today we don't have a guest, but I would say 80 to 90% of future episodes will likely include a guest. And those guests are going to be knowledgeable. They're going to be experts in their field.
Yep.
The topic of conversation, they're going to bring lots of value to
Yep.
our listeners. That's the main goal with
and
the guys.
because it's going to be relevant too.
Yes.
Right. Because there's a lot of successful people, business owners and stuff out there that have a lot to add. Maybe if it was a business podcast, right? But this is more focused around fitness. I'm not saying everybody's going to be a fitness professional, but there will be a way that it jives with our message.
Yes, that's correct. And one thing for sure that I've been very clear about, right now we have a queue of about 4 guests waiting that are going to be coming out in the near future.
Very nice.
And so what I've told all of them is that something that's very important to me and to us as a whole is that this podcast is not an ad for your business.
right.
This is for our listeners to learn something. Yeah, we can talk about your business a little bit also,
Yeah.
but we want our listeners to listen to the episode
Yep.
and have actionable, specific things that they can do and that they learned from listening. Now, if they want to pursue your business, awesome. And you don't have to be a business owner to come on the podcast either. You can have a great story when it comes to fitness, but we want people on here that are bringing actual value to listeners. And that's the most important thing to us.
Yeah. And if we do that, I think if we help Houston make its way up the ladder of health and fitness by bringing on knowledgeable and informative guests and bringing value to the listeners, we will establish ourselves as the go-to source of personal training in the Houston area. And that's the ultimate goal for OTG, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the back end strategy of the podcast is to establish ourselves all around Houston from Katy to Baytown, from Galveston to Spring. We want to be the go-to source for personal training. And this podcast is going to help us do that by establishing our brand in these different pockets of the Houston. Houston's a very big city. There's over 2 million people.
The city of Houston alone.
The city of Houston. That's not included Greater Houston area, which is where we are. We're in Webster, right?
Greater Houston.
Yeah. And so it's greater. The population is even larger. Houston itself is 2.2 million. So there's plenty of people here that we can help improve their life through health and fitness. And by bringing on guests from all over the city, we can start to establish our name and our brand in these different pockets of the city. And just to be super transparent, we only need about 100 to 150 clients in one of our gyms for it to be a successful gym, right? So we don't need a whole lot of people.
We don't want a whole lot more than that per location.
That's correct.
Logistics becomes a problem.
Exactly, because there's only about 5 to 10 people in our gym at any one time. Because if you guys don't know, if you don't know what OTG is, what OTG Fitness is, it is a private personal training gym which specializes in personal training. You have to do personal training to be a member, and then all the other perks are all included for free. Nutrition, 24-hour access to the gym, all that stuff's included for free. But we only want the committed individuals that actually want their hand held through their fitness journey. So that being said, we don't want this huge location right here in one spot. We want to have multiple small locations all around the city of Houston.
Conveniently located.
That's right. Because we do things in person. If you guys ever noticed, we don't do virtual guests here.
Nope.
We sit down with people face to face, eye to eye, and have real conversations.
We don't do virtual personal training. We don't do virtual guests on the podcast. We like to meet in person. And I think that you always get a lot more done, a lot further into the green per se, if you meet in person than if you do something online. Yeah,
because you can get the emotions out of people. Fitness, and especially nutrition, is inherently a very emotional thing, right? So I want to sit down with people, see their facial expressions, get out of
body language.
Body language, very important. We want to get all of this out of them. So,
and we also want them to see ours too.
Yes, 100%. Great point. And by establishing our brand, we can open up locations all around the city of Houston and already have a relationship with someone in that area, which will help us grow and expand so we can reach more people in person in the gym, and then also here virtually via the podcast where people can listen in. And if they want to pursue our business, awesome. Same with our guests. Bring lots of information. If they want to pursue the business and become a customer, become a client, awesome. But if not, you don't have to.
Perfect. Yeah, that's fine. So let's peel this back a little bit. Phil, you touched on it a little bit earlier when you were kind of going over our itinerary, so to speak. What we're talking about is the podcast, what we plan on doing, but most importantly, why. And we do it because we want to help people and we want to improve we want to help Houston make its way up the ladder of health and fitness. So let's rewind it back to the beginning.
The beginning of
OTG.
OTG as a whole?
And then the podcast came after.
Yes.
We're talking about the beginning of OTG.
So yeah, OTG really, I guess OTG gym started about 5 years ago, but OTG as a whole probably started when I was a teenager. And if you don't know this story, if you don't know this story, I'm going to try to tell it as quick as possible. When I was 15 years old, my mom died. She was very overweight. She was not healthy.
She was 36, people.
36
Think about it.
Yep.
I'm 32.
Yeah, we're knocking on that door.
Yeah, 36 is not old. That's a very young woman.
That's right. And she was overweight. Unfortunately, had a heart attack at a very young age. And in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, but my opinion, looking back, very preventable.
Yep.
And unfortunately, after that, I did go through quite a deep depression for about 4, maybe 5 years.
Sure.
I gained weight, did not feel good. Very little social things going on, a deep depression, anxiety. I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and PTSD at that time. PTSD because I actually watched my mom have a heart attack in front of me, performed CPR with 911 on the phone, everything you can think of. So,
right. Well, I didn't know that.
That was a really, really crazy experience.
15 years old.
So I was diagnosed with PTSD from that. But I got through it, went to therapy and stuff, the best that I could, but it still took me about 4 or 5 years to really get out of that. And what got me out of that was fitness. I lost almost 100 pounds, changed my life. I did it completely with nutrition. I actually didn't start working out until I went from the fat kid to the guy who looked like he never ate.
Right.
And so, kids are mean, they'll always find something to say. So
you're either too skinny or you're too fat or you got the wrong shoes or you got the wrong haircut. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Something's
Kids
always
are going to find something.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I started working out.
Unless you're Sean, you always have the right haircut.
Oh my. Yeah. You seen those?
Those things are nice.
Oh man.
Those are some nice rigs.
Some nice rigs.
I remember he walked.
It really is. I wish I could do that.
He walked in the Halloween party on Saturday and I was like, it's Sean.
Yeah.
As Sean.
Sean dressed as Sean.
He doesn't need to dress up.
No. Yeah. I didn't have anything cool this year, but next year I'm coming for you, Darryl.
Ooh.
You better pack a sack lunch. Bring a step ladder.
Bring a lantern.
You can bring a lantern.
You're gonna be there for a while.
For quite a while. You're going to beat me.
But yeah, so fitness is what got me out of that hole. And I lost weight first, and that was really great. But it's really when I started working out when it all came together.
Yep.
Right. And I was about 19, 20 years old when that started. And after a few years, I loved it so much that I started doing it part-time after work.
You were working full-time.
Yeah, I was working full-time at the time.
Laser key.
I had actually dropped out of college. Well,
back.
Whatever you want to call it. I had stopped going, right? But I went back. And so I was working full-time, college, full-time, doing personal training. And that's part-time, and that's when I discovered my abilities, I guess. And now looking back, I think everyone has this ability to do more than you think is what's capable of yourself.
Right.
And once again, I really relate fitness to that. And you'll hear me often say that when you exercise regularly and eat well, not having time is not a legitimate excuse, because when you exercise and eat well, you actually turn a 24-hour day into a 26-hour day because of productivity and efficiency.
Yep.
So that's something you'll hear me say a lot of, and I believe that to this day. So, but I discovered my abilities of talking to people and helping people and relating to them when I first started personal training.
Yeah.
And after about 3.5 years of doing it part-time, I did decide to quit my full-time job in manufacturing and pursue fitness full-time.
Yeah.
And when I quit my job,
It wasn't scary or anything, huh?
no.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask the same question because you asked Aaron. You asked Aaron. You said, "How was it when you put that 2-week notice in?"
And she said it was easy.
Yeah. So how did it feel for you?
Not easy.
Yeah, he was worried. I was there.
No, not easy. It was very scary.
Yeah.
But it's probably because it was just so different than anything I'd ever done. When I grew up, the thought of being an entrepreneur was just unheard of.
Yeah.
You know, when we were kids, you
had to go to college. That was the only thing. That was the only way you could ever succeed.
went to college for P-Tech and you went out
to the refinery.
Yeah,
you go to
that
the
or a
refineries.
nurse. Yeah, that
or
a nurse.
nursing is very popular as well, you know, in our culture, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I just never thought about that before. But it really was my old boss at my old job that gave me the confidence to know that it is possible to do something like that. So I did. And looking back, it was really a crazy time. The things that I did, the things that happened, how we got to where we are today. We had a very difficult time getting started. I didn't think we were going to make it. I remember being just scared out of my mind because I'd already quit my job, signed the lease the same week
on the gym.
I think.
It was close.
It was within a week or two. It was within a week. I had like 2 spots picked out.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of reasons that the timing played out the way that it did. We don't have to get into, but I didn't have a plan. Let's just leave it at that. There was no plan.
Yeah, an idea, but no plan.
That's right. A good idea that worked out. And actually, the idea that I had is nowhere near what our business model is today. I remember my initial idea, and just to kind of not to spend too much time on like what exactly that we do, but most gyms, the way that most small privately owned gyms work is you open a gym as the owner, you let personal trainers come in, and the personal trainers like pay rent to the gym, right? And they bring in clients get a membership, and that's how the owner makes their living. And when I first quit my job to do the gym, that's what I thought we were going to do. And terrible business model. And I
figured that out early.
Yeah, figured that out early. I remember initially my goal was to have a couple trainers in the gym, me have my client base, and just go to work every day, train clients, and have a good life. Looking back, that was quite an idiotic thought because it just doesn't
work. You're telling me you learned as time went on?
Weird.
And you pivoted?
Crazy.
And you grew?
There
and
you
changed?
So yes, we pivoted to this model that we have now, which is personal training experience. And then, you know, everything else that we do for our client base. And it was a great decision looking back, and it's treated us well. I'm very proud of what we have. At the same time, I know we have a long way to go, which is why we're here talking about this right now. But at the same time, I'm pretty proud of you know, where it is at this point. And it was about 2 years into that, probably in the very beginning. I don't really remember when you and I started working out together a lot again or anything like that. I don't remember, because I remember when I first quit my job, I remember everything stopped. I sold all my stuff, moved into a little apartment. I was literally the guy with the mattress and the
mattress on the floor, the desk and the computer in the living room, and no TV,
nothing,
and like 1 cup, 1 plate, 1 bowl, 1 spoon.
I used styrofoam.
Whey protein on the top of the fridge.
Yes, sir.
I actually used paper plates and plastic utensils for a long time, so I didn't have to wash dishes. Like all kinds of
those are go-tos, man.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. But there was definitely a point in time where I was very isolated. So I don't really remember when we started like working out regularly.
Before that, we worked out regularly
for
years. And then you kind of went quiet for a while when you were opening this business. I was working a lot. And then I think kind of once you got it open, you got the equipment there, you're like, hey man, let's work out. Let's get back to some normalcy here. And so we would go, I think once or twice a week, we would go to OTG usually, and we would work out. And then a lot of time it would just be us two in there. There wouldn't be anybody else in there.
You know, it just came. I'm gonna be very transparent with this as well. I don't think that we've ever really talked about this, but if anyone knew me around maybe 3-4 years ago, probably about the time we started doing the podcast, I had slid back down into somewhat of a, I'm not going to say bad mental place, but it wasn't ideal.
Yep.
I was in, I don't want to, I'm going to say an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah. You weren't happy with it.
Yeah, is what I was in. And I started going to therapy, went back to the same psychiatrist that I went to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
The first thing that he asked me is, how much time are you spending with your male friends? And I was like, not enough. And he was like, I want you to do that. And I think that might be the thing.
Whenever you hit me up and we're like, hey, we got to start working out
Yep.
again. You didn't tell me that,
yeah, exactly.
But it would make sense.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know if this is 100% true, but I'm pretty sure looking back that's kind of how it all played together. But anyways, so that happened. We started working out a lot. We were having really great conversations, just kind of catching up about childhood and lessons that we learned and things like that. And let's do a podcast.
Yeah. It was like, man, somebody should record these episodes so that we could post it and help people. You know, people could learn something, people could benefit in some way, right? You know, I remember having these conversations and thinking, you know, Phil would say something that I'd be like, oh, so-and-so needs to hear that. So-and-so was just maybe complaining about that or expressing distaste in this. And Phil just said something that could help them. If I had it on camera, I could just play it for him, right? And so we were like, let's do a podcast. No idea what we're doing.
Zero.
We had a GoPro and a tabletop microphone and the tiniest office you have ever seen.
Miserable.
Rented office.
Yeah.
And when we went, we had to flip the furniture up so we could get the camera far enough away from us to record us. We had to sit right next to each other. And then the first episode, do you remember? Must have been deep clean night at the office building.
Yes. We got there. It was late too. It was probably 9:30.
We show up at the studio, the office at like, it's a
shared space.
A shared space office. You just rent the room, right? And we show up at like 9:30 at night. I remember it was kind of cold outside. And we're like, all right, let's record a podcast. So we got to flip the furniture up because we can't get the stuff far enough away. And about the time we're ready to record, vacuuming. The cleanest floor ever is in that right outside that office in the hallway.
Oh my God.
She vacuumed that. There's no carpet left. She vacuumed all the carpet off of the foundation.
We were there for at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to record a 20-minute episode.
I think that's the most interesting part of like any type of video or content creation is that first or second like those first couple of episodes. Like you're just trying to figure things out because you have the idea and it all makes sense to you. And then you sit down and it's like, all right, so how do I get the camera going? Got to get the lighting and you're looking at everything. And then it's just like, man.
It took us probably 25 episodes before we would walk in, sit down and start recording.
Yes.
Yeah. Like it was always a battle. It was a fight. And honestly, when it wasn't really until Lucas kind of came around and was helping us more that we really started to streamline at least the process of coming in, recording, and leaving.
Right.
Yeah.
But we still didn't know what the hell we were doing. The studio, we moved tables around. We got rid of tables. We added tables. We had a backyard barbecue 2000 fold out plastic table.
About to play some beer pong.
Yeah,
and
we
then
had the beer pong
Yes.
in my spare bedroom, which was tiny. You know, and there was a window which didn't have curtains, and so the lighting was a little weird. It was all kinds of problems.
GoPros never worked.
GoPros never worked.
Ever. Those are things that might be the worst invention of all time.
Yeah, they were terrible. So the little office,
at least.
The little office didn't last very long recording at the little office.
No, yeah,
we
the
pretty
shared
quickly
space,
moved it to my house.
I think we maybe only had 2 or 3 episodes there, and then we moved into Darryl's house. And we had several iterations there from changing out we had the Backyard Barbecue 2000 for quite a while, actually.
Yeah, that was that table's still in my garage.
Just in case somebody wants to get whooped on beer pong real quick.
In case you want to play beer pong, or in case I fire up that smoker and I need to have I'll set that sucker out and I'm going to line the brisket, the ribs, the sausage, everything. Yeah, that's the table,
going.
Right?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And it's going to be kind of sagging in the middle because there's too much on it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Y'all know what I'm talking about.
For sure. That's when y'all first started having guests, right? When y'all moved into Darryl's house.
Yeah, and I don't remember what episode number it was before we had our first guest, or who even the first guest. I should have done
Several
some
episodes in.
I should have done some more homework before we hopped on here.
I
Sean,
did
what
a
do you
quick
got?
look. I think that the first episode that y'all had a guest on was the one where
Who was it?
I think it's Lucas. I think it's Meet the Man Behind the Camera.
Oh,
anything,
yeah.
anything before that is just it doesn't say anything about a guest. It's just you guys.
Yeah,
so that was episode.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Episode 19.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Man
So
Behind the Camera.
Darryl just said that it wasn't until Lucas came on that we got somewhat streamlined with our
process of how we did it.
Yeah, so on the tech side.
Yeah.
On the tech side of things.
By tech, we're talking about cameras and microphones.
Yeah, it's real complex, right?
Yeah, super complex.
We couldn't figure it out.
Oh,
we
God,
could
we
not figure it out.
sucked.
We could not figure it out. But we persevered.
Yep. We wanted to do it bad enough. We wanted to help bad enough that we just kept. What's that saying? I saw somebody wearing a T-shirt on Instagram. It's too stupid to quit.
Yes,
That's how I feel we were.
That was very much us.
We were too dumb to quit.
Yeah.
Right? And too ignorant on how to podcast to quit podcasting.
Yeah,
Like
and-
we're
And luckily, we stuck with it, and that's what if you have a dream for something, and obviously we talked about everything that we want out of the podcast currently, and so we just kept going.
Yeah,
and that's all. That's a lot of. I was just talking to someone not too long ago. I know that I don't do everything perfect, but that's all I know.
It's just to keep going.
The only thing I do know is keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. That's what I do know. Everything else I'm guessing all the time.
Well, Phil, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to go ahead and confidently say that I know you better than anybody in the world knows you. I'm at least top 3. And I think the story of your life is keep going, that you kept going. When we started out at a young age, let's just go ahead and start out when you were 15 and your mom dies, right? And you got depression and you got anxiety and you got PTSD. You kept going. You didn't know how. You didn't know what the end goal was, but you had to keep going.
Yeah.
You didn't give up, right? In the beginning, you didn't want to be overweight. That's what killed your mom, probably. You didn't know how to get in shape. You didn't know how to diet right. But guess what? You kept going. You just started and you kept going, right?
Mm-hmm.
You started to work full time. You didn't really know what you wanted to go to school for, but you kept going. You were too scared to quit your job and open up a gym, but you kept going. And now look at you, right?
Here we are.
Started a podcast. It sucked. We were terrible at it. And what'd you do?
We kept going.
And now we're only like 5% better, but we kept going, right?
That is how it feels sometimes. I know
Yeah.
things have gotten a lot better. If you're watching on YouTube, especially, you see, and if you look back at episode 1, episode 19 with the first guest, and now here we are in episode 100. Mm-hmm.
100.
The changes are crazy. Like we do it at my house. We didn't even move right down the road just so we'd have a room big enough to do the podcast.
Yep.
To really get the setup the way that we wanted it. Sean and I, what was it, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
That we added the rug and everything to really get the sound quality better.
For the people
in here.
that can't see it, we have a huge
Austin Powers.
Yeah, Austin Powers.
Acoustic tiles on the ceiling.
Yep.
Yeah,
Acoustic tiles on the ceiling and then moving blankets on the walls.
Yeah. So when you walk into this room, you can tell the difference.
It's like a sound studio.
Yeah, it's a legit studio now.
Yeah.
And so to
we
think
kept
back
going.
to the shared space, to
We kept
Darryl's
going
house,
to my
all
house.
the iterations at Darryl's house, and then we moved it to here.
And there's been a lot of iterations.
You remember
here.
the first episode we did here?
Oh my God, it sounded like we're in a cave.
It was before. Remember, it was before I actually moved here.
There was nothing else here.
There was nothing else.
So you walk into an empty house, and there was a podcast studio in one of the rooms. That was it. There was nothing else.
The AC didn't work.
Yeah, the AC didn't work. It was broken. It was hot.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So and here and look at it now, and also just the structure of the show in general. For a long time, Darryl and I just were winging it.
Kept going.
Which we still kind of do, but we have a loose agenda we try to follow. Now, we do stay very much more structured and rigid when we have a guest.
Yep.
We try to do that.
We don't want to waste their time or anybody else's.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, we're here having fun. We keep a loose agenda. We stay on track, but we have fun at the same time. The podcast now, because of Sean, since he's here, it looks good. It sounds good. The clips that are produced from it are just gold.
Yep.
Everything about it. I think, in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before we're the biggest podcast in Houston.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel about it. And I'm going to keep going.
Keep going.
Until that happens.
Yeah. Well, guys, I feel like we've said a whole lot here, especially at the end. But I wanted to touch on 2 or 3 points here. First point is keep going, right? And it's going to tie into my next one. If you have an idea or a thought, do something about it. Put it out there. See if you can use it to help somebody, because every successful business, product, service was once just an idea that somebody had in their head, right?
So true.
And whoever's idea it was, most likely started pursuing it even though they didn't know how to really. And even though they were messing up, they kept going and going and going, and look at them now. Almost any successful entrepreneur has that story, right? Winners don't win. They try and fail and try and fail, and then eventually they win. And people know that part of it, right? So just keep going. And also, if you know somebody that could benefit from this show, that this show may help, then share it with them.
Yes.
And if you are a local Houstonian that has a business or an idea or an experience that could help our listeners, reach out to us, and we'll see if you're a good fit to come onto the show.
Yeah, and I think it's very important, talking about sharing. We need to come together, and that's one reason that I love Houston so much. We have a lot of pride here.
Oh, yeah.
We come together and we can really change the world, but we have to start right here in our own community. And I think that we can do that because the people here have such pride.
Yeah.
And we want to help everyone, obviously, but we want to help our neighbor.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do here. So if you live in Houston and you want to help our city improve, get better, improve your own life, but also the people around you, directly around you, then share the show with them.
Yep.
And like Darryl said, if you feel like you have a story that can help people, or you have a product, service, whatever,
business, whatever
it is, the one thing I always say is we're not here to make an ad for anyone's business or product. We're here to help people.
Right.
And if your business or product is chosen by our listeners, then awesome. But if not, you need to be able to bring enough value here to allow someone to just listen to this, and then they can go act on that and improve their life.
Absolutely.
And if that's you, let us know.
Absolutely. Let us know, man. Guys, that was a good show. Anybody got anything?
I mean, just happy to be here.
I'm happy to be back too. 100 episodes,
100
guys.
episodes, man.
Like, subscribe, share the show, and we'll be back next week. Or actually, y'all will be back on what days do y'all record now? Y'all too. Do you still do that?
No. Just the one show a week.
I love it.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys.
Yes,
we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening.
All right. Peace out.